Let's see, what's today? Today is November 1st, year 2020. There it is. I am at Stop and Shop where, if you notice, the Islamic Center. This is Maria Mirza. She grew up a Christian. We kind of call her like Mother Teresa, but she's not really, so don't get like all disappointed when she doesn't like fulfill what Mother Teresa actually did as a woman. But her name just happens to be the exact definition, but whatever. So now I was inside, and there was a woman by the name of Raj, R-A-J. I believe it's Rajinder. Again, I don't want to disrespect anybody if it sounds like it might be something different in a different whatever, because I know between the spracha of French, Spanish, and then the anger between the French and the Spanish, and then the Italian doesn't want to get involved, and then you have other languages that are kind of hybrid-ish for dialect, since now there's so many people on ships learning global, the G, the low BA on a list. Oh, you realize that's how globalist is spelled. Well, anyway, I was speaking to Raj, and she mentioned, I said, now Raj, I said, could you do me a favor? I know the name Jay is significant. I was like, could you tell me, like, in your community, what does the name, what does the name Jay stand for? And she's like, she's like, well, there's a lot of men. She says they're, they're Jay, they're Jay, they're Anthony. I'm like, whoa, Jay and Anthony. I said, now why Jay and Anthony in that order? And she's just like, in front, on the camera, by the way. And she's just like, well, I mean, there's Mike too. And I was like, yeah, there is a Mike. And I was like, she's like, there's lots of names here. And there's a John, right? John Adams. That's a fucking problem. Right? I didn't say anything. And I'm like, I was like, okay, but what does like, in your community, isn't there some significance to the name Jay or that sound? And she's like, well, when we go for prayer, it's you put your hands together and you Jay. And I'm like, right, Jay is a movement. And so I'm like, so then she informs me. I said, now that makes so much sense. So then she informs me, but it's not, it's spelled J-A-I. It's a bow. It's, something, it's a J. And I'm like, right, it's a J. Okay. I was like, thank you for that, by the way. I said, just think of me as a word collector. I'm trying to figure stuff out. I was like, and you've been very helpful, so thank you. I appreciate it. And now in Namaste territory, which is actually N with an E, and then it's Mas. And M-A-S, which normally is indicative of the Zen kids in the Tao. They don't kowtow, but I'm talking red blood, blue blood, like... Anyway, so the Namaste meeting that I had did not want to give their community a particular whatever, which was fine. And that Nina had set up for me, which was fine. But they also mentioned the J was significant to them, which at the time I could not figure out, or my wires were a little glitchy in connecting the dots between John Adams, the patriot in the Revolutionary War in America, looks very, in his pain, P-A-I-N. He's a real fucking pain in the ass. Yeah, that's Peter Otto Roemer, built some year, born I don't know what year he was built, but 1940 something is when he arrived. It was a big A, and then it's an SS problem, so we call him an ass. And with his ugly ass son, Peter Roemer, 1975, is a red blood. He is not genetically significant enough to marry an ancient star goddess, who, by the way, is also betrothed to another blue blood and does not want to be raped, nor sold, nor forced in a red blood territory for the rest of her fucking life. Since she was born amongst red blood, caste level of scenery, and that wasn't her main motif or modus operandi. She really just is a star traveler and wants her one mutant, but that's a weird word because he's got a paralyzing 11 fingers. Great. I want the one with 11 fingers. Everything in red blood territory, I can't even define that. We're good. So now that's that. But now here's the thing. I know that between red and blue bloods, the commercial, the CO, the company, M, like the masters, right, yeah, okay, of flight, no less, from yesteryear, Nazi, and SS and arguments, had an MER of some sort. This is, I mean, like, the red blood territory, I call the ER. I mean, blue bloods are intertwined with it, but it really affects the ER. So it's a MER, MER. All right, so now that MER then ties into a MER. ICA, sure do. All right, that's where the fight happens because the commercial, the CIA, has to be square rooted with vertical horizon. Right, the Federal Aviation, it says the Federal Aviation and Aeronautics, but here's the thing, the FAA already said that it's airline only, AIRLINE. The aviation department, AVATION, said niet spasiba, and that's spelled NIET, because it is the H, the two sides of that argument, the high blue bloods and the red bloods below, they come together in a J movement, and but it's a small J with the star over it, and it's like this. But that gets confusing because Peter asshole Otto Roemer, 1940-something, named his daughter, his one and only daughter, Jennifer, which sounds to Namaste and Zen and Tao, anything Arabic, anything French, like, you know, if you speak French or Spanish only, it gets confusing linguistically and they get angry because they want to participate and get it right. This is really important for them and their people, not to, I mean, we're all participating in the correction line of how much their people broke so we could fix without larger problems. We had that all together. I just put up the Primitive Radio God song of the man who is just genetically white. I mean, no significance, but he's a red blood, outside of a phone booth with a little blonde girl. Again, she's a red blood. There's no significance. She's not superior in any way to anybody else. She's just blonde and white. And she gets out of the phone booth and then she goes back in and it says she's standing outside the phone booth with the money in her hand. Yeah, that's how I was born, because testimony ends in money, MONY. So my testimony, whether it have been in the future running it backwards or whether it be as I go, is the only truth, the only pay, the only commission, the only whatever. And thus far, nobody has given me anything. So that word forgive, FORE, is my relation with my starbound, which is Nicolaus. Santa Claus, yeah, KLAUS. Right, Klaus. I want him, always did. And give me back what you stole, shitbag humans. I want the forgive. You give me, as a goddess, my 11th hour finger, and then maybe the red bloods will be taken care of. Thus far, you've done nothing. Inside that America, it says CIA. The commercial says CIA. So how do you fund the CIA? Well, you make up a bunch of fucking lies. You come up with an industry you're not allowed to use. You get a whole bunch of people on the same fucking plan, and then you break the whole entire fucking system. That's what airline is. Man is not, he was not born with wings. His feet are not to leave the ground. As a man or a woman, you are not permitted by God to leave to defy the laws of gravity. We define the laws of gravity for you. You were born, you hit the ground. If nobody caught you, you wound up on the floor until you could move. That is the law of gravity. There is no flight in that law of gravity. Therefore, building a machine to escalate yourself to level of gods and other science that you cannot explain, nor are you permitted to manipulate, because then it affects the rest of the genetics. And some of us are actually responsible for what lay on the ground in red blood territory and actually care. It's just hard at top layer of red blood idiots to have one conversation and make you all understand and do the right thing. Really fucking tough. So now here I was at age Soviet 4 for the good-looking Nazi with the perfect nose like my own, which is why we're considered blue blood. And I got a red fucking Grumman marry-in problem. Hardy Lee Bailey stood by my side on, no, we didn't want Sue to marry Peter either, but we didn't get our wish. Right, yeah, why didn't you want to marry Peter? I don't know. He's not a very good-looking man. No, he's not. Right, and Sue was absolutely beautiful, but whatever. So that's Jason's parents. All right, so Jen, they've got Jennifer. Jen confuses the Spracha elsewhere for iGen, I-G-E-N. She spelled Jen, J-E-N-N-I-F-E-R. Niet spasiba. When I do namaste, it's H-E-T, which is pronounced niet spasiba. It's no thank you, it's not good. It's like, cut it, out. Don't let it happen. That's in the Situation Room, which is the Citadel Citrus before we get here. It's accusations, and then it's citans. Yeah, it's not a word that, I write it, but we don't pronounce it. It has no acuity for the audio and, whatever. And then not only did they name Peter Otto Roemer, the John Adams look-alike ugly patriot in the American Red Bloods, then in the white neck of the woods, then also named his son Jason. Now, that is a really horrible name, because we have Islamic people willing to work in unison and not embarrass themselves, their faith, and their people with the splitting up of the airline industry, since Indus Valley infused some of their Asian whatever in some format for the beginning of industry. In some global partnership, it's on some list somewhere and nobody gives a shit and doesn't ever do anything fucking right. You realize there are answers to everything, where it began, how it, and why, nobody's fixing it. Right, yeah, where's that department? Because they've had the phone book, the phone booth, the little girl they trapped in it. They closed the phone booth. They're like, nope, Superman's fucking dead and you're gonna fucking suffocate before I let you out, you little fucking cunt. That's where we've been. Meanwhile, I'm the blue blood sitting on the inside of that phone booth with all the fucking answers, all the testimony, and all the anything that's ever gonna fucking matter on this planet. And yet you allowed some ugly fucking beak-nosed J-problem into your, movement of trying to do the correct thing for the star person, being James Bonded in 07 and 05. Well, then why, when 5-0, Hawaii 5-0 came out, and the whole big drag net that we were dragging into the future with the airline industry wasn't fucking fixed, don't call it aviation and don't call it Aeroforce. Because you don't own either, and I do not dare speak its name, because where I come from, I don't even need wings to fly. Done. So now, why is it that none of you listened for 42 more years when we let you know from Situation Room before? We let you know when I arrived. And here we are, and you've punished me every day since as the only star goddess. With definitive needs for which you've given nothing. You've done nothing but take as humans and as red bloods. And in fact, some of the blue bloods are on the take as well.